Wow, what a room. What a great room today. Great to have you all here. Good morning. Welcome to our 14th Greater Oklahoma City's State of the City event. Today's an event for us to have an opportunity to hear firsthand a report on how our city's doing from our very own Mayor, Mick Cornett. We also have an opportunity to celebrate our accomplishments and also to look forward to our future. As you know, Oklahoma City is the envy of many cities in this country. We are in a unique position for several reasons. A relatively strong economy marked by low unemployment, actually, I think the lowest unemployment rate in our MSA, solid growth in per capita income, a low cost of living, and a constructive business environment. Put it all together, and it well positions the region to pursue opportunities for growth, recruit new businesses, expand our existing businesses, and to continue to strengthen our foundation for sustaining our economic growth. And just as our city is uniquely positioned because of its strengths, our chamber is uniquely positioned within our community to elevate our city and region to the next level, taking the credible and important voice of the business community to our city hall, to our state capital, and to the capital of our nation. It may sound trite to talk about the importance of partnership and working together, but that produces results, big results, that pushes our communities forward. I sum that up in one word: maps. It would be easy at times like these when things are going well to get complacent and think we have it all figured out, but we know that's not our way. Sustained growth does not happen without hard work required to create opportunities or overcome the challenges that may diminish them. As we all know, that must happen as a team, as a community, pulling together. Today, I ask you to get personally involved in our work. Be an advocate for business at the legislature. Sign up for the Chamber's Business Advocate emails and use the Business Advocacy Center to contact your senator or representative on issues of importance. We have a strong voice, but your participation will help us be heard on these critical issues. Critical issues like workmen's compensation, where our costs are the 6th highest in the country, where our neighboring states, it costs businesses twice as much here for workmen's compensation than our neighboring states. And also in another area where we need engagement, talk about in a minute, is education. So there's a card at your table or at each seat for you to provide contact information, giving us the ability to contact you concerning legislation your representative or senator may be supporting or may not be supporting during the course of the legislation session. So please fill them out and leave them on the table or hand them to a chamber staff member. Making significant improvements in our education system requires the election of quality boards of education. On Tuesday, February 12th, voters across our state will elect members of the local school boards. These races matter not only to Oklahoma City, but in Edmond, Putnam City, Norman, Moore, and beyond. And I can think of no bigger issue we face in terms of our long-term economic well-being. Go online, learn about the candidates and their choices. The Chamber has surveyed the candidates on the issues, and those results will be available on our website shortly. Improved governance and having school board members who will lead for reform are an important step forward. And finally, to ensure that we're doing everything to embrace and benefit from the growing diversity of our city and state. In the rich history of our land, many different cultures come together to forge a future that makes us strong, and I call on everyone here to build upon that legacy. We have a great city and a great story to tell. Let's keep focused on building that success. Let's work together, engage, and to support the Chamber's efforts to realize our opportunities and overcome our challenges so that when we get together again next year at this meeting, we'll report on an even more vibrant economy and community. I would now like to recognize and extend a thank you to our signature sponsor for today's event, an organization you may be somewhat familiar with, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's give a round of applause for them. And now we invite you to enjoy lunch, where we will recognize on screen our sponsors of today's event. But before that, we will play for you the Chamber's new video created to encourage people to relocate to our city. And if you're recruiting outside of our city for talent, this is just the right video for you. So look for more details about our relocation initiatives at your seat. We will reconvene shortly to hear the address from Mayor Mick Cornett. Enjoy your lunch.
Good morning. Welcome to Today on
Good Sunday morning. It's been building and building.
We're glad it's worked out the way it has.
America Report. We found one city that's...
It's a powerful thing. When the New York Times says your city has arrived, you can believe your eyes. The scope of change here in just the past few years has been breathtaking. A strong, steady progression that adds up to a transformation. It radiates from a remarkable downtown renaissance, unleashing wave after wave of vibrant urban reinvention. This is 21st century Oklahoma City, where an ever-ready economy is matched with a way of life that's a magnet. You feel its pull as soon as you do the math. Whether you're running a business or your own household, compare a low cost of living with a wealth of good-paying jobs, and the difference is what we pocket to save and spend on extras that are unaffordable elsewhere, which makes for healthy businesses and very contented citizens. Your tour of Oklahoma City starts downtown with a superstar of a skyscraper, the new 50-story Devon Energy Tower, and the reimagined Myriad Gardens. There's the roar of NBA basketball at the Chesapeake Energy Arena, where the Oklahoma City Thunder's fairy tale of a rise has put OKC top of mind worldwide. Add the sleek Oklahoma riverfront, a new U.S. Olympic training center for rowing, canoe, and kayak, and a wondrous new waterfront that welcomes everyone. The urban core is booming with corporate headquarters, hotels, and restaurants, urban parks, and encounters with the arts, including the spectacular Oklahoma City Museum of Art and Civic Center Music Hall. Live music and entertainment beckon from Bricktown to Western Avenue and beyond. Thousands are living downtown and in vibrant urban neighborhoods. A world-class campus for elite biomedical research and the State Capitol Complex are all adjacent to a network of interstates that assure an easy commute, coming or going. Whether it's a condo downtown, historic district charm, a leafy university town, or a rambling acreage, the wide variety of lifestyles is a major driver of the growth in every corner of Greater OKC. It's pretty sweet. Housing is so famously affordable, it boosts everyone's standard of living, and the amenities many new arrivals consider luxuries are happily the norm. Oklahoma City has always been a cultural crossroads. Downtown's Deep Deuce District was a cradle of American jazz. Our Western and American Indian cultures are unmatched. And today, Latino and Asian populations brought in a tapestry of diversity. Diverse cultures have fed the creativity coursing through our communities. It drives innovation in our industries. It drives decisions on development. And one result is job creation. Jobs are plentiful here because a low cost of living translates to a low cost of doing business, and employers profit from a workforce with a strong work ethic. The decision to adopt a new hometown comes down to what it's like to live here. How you spend your days and nights and weekends. How you move around the city and the people you encounter every day. Your options for entertainment and education. Plenty of evidence says that once people are here, they stick around or leap at the chance to come back. First, we live in a land of lakes and a haven for recreation. If you think Oklahoma is one big prairie, know that we have more diverse terrain per square mile than any other state, and more shoreline than the East and Gulf Coasts combined. We're raising athletes and teams, from Little League on up. Powerhouse college sports are an obsession. We have hockey and baseball teams, and the Oklahoma City Thunder has officially sent this city into the stratosphere. An impressive array of performing arts ranges from the Philharmonic and Ballet to choral and theater groups. University programs soar, particularly in dance, opera, rock, and jazz. Our museums start with the finest collections of Western and American Indian art in America. Galleries are booming, while arts classes and events cultivate creativity with hands-on adventure. And given the math we mentioned, no wonder we're shopping with money to spend. High-end merchandise and services are abundant and multiplying. The beauty of Oklahoma City today is easy to see and stands to last. Because where we really shine is in numbers that work in your favor. Whether you're Generation Y or a baby boomer. Because the job market here says, welcome. The standard of living says, welcome. The economy, cultural life, and sense of community all say welcome. Whether you're accepting a job or you're the spouse who's looking for one. Whether you're parents of toddlers or teens, or young enough and lucky enough to grow up here, you will find an exciting city on the rise and people who will make you feel at home from the day you arrive in Oklahoma City.
How about that video? Was that a great video that we saw before? After seeing that, I may move here again. At this time, before we get to our keynote speech today, I'd like to ask all elected officials in the room to stand so we can show you for our appreciation for attending today and for your leadership and public service. Thank you. The world has taken notice of Oklahoma City's remarkable renaissance and its popular mayor. As Oklahoma City continues to draw positive attention nationally and internationally, Mick Cornett was named Governing Magazine's Public Official of the Year, and he finished second to the Mayor of Mexico City for the World Mayor Award. And he was just recently named one of America's 5 most innovative mayors by Newsweek. He has put together an interesting collection of life experiences with achievements at every level: competitive sports, television journalist, college professor, business owner, and now politics. As cities grapple with needs in education, infrastructure, health, the arts, and sports, Cornett's theory is inclusive. We're going to do it all. And they have, creating a world-class city in an incredibly short period of time. Cornett has led the city through a series of forward-thinking, quality-of-life initiatives that are attracting attention from around the globe. Newsweek recently, again, named him one of our most innovative mayors, and I already said that. That press staff really works well, Mayor. We wanted to really make sure we got that point across. He was re-elected the city's mayor with 88% of the vote and is now in his 3rd term. He holds a journalism degree from the University of Oklahoma and an MBA from New York University. Today, Mayor Cornett is making his 9th State of the City address, so please give a warm welcome to the Mayor of Oklahoma City, Mick Cornett. Mayor.
see you all. Thank you, Pete, and welcome everybody to the State of the City Address for 2013. It is nice to see such a good crowd. 1,500 people here today. That is a new record for us. I know, it's cray-cray. Why don't we begin by thanking those that prepared and served us lunch. It is always amazing to me. I mean, imagine trying to serve that many people simultaneously. It is amazing to me that they can do it on such a timely basis, and we appreciate all their work. We will be spending the next few minutes discussing what's happened over the last 12 months and what's going to happen over the next 12 months. And sometimes it's interesting to reflect back on what was accomplished in 2012 and what was not accomplished in 2012. For instance, I was thinking that 2012 would be the year that I convinced my mother she might be happier if she left her house and moved into a retirement center. And I note that although that was a goal of mine, at the end of the year, not only was she still in her house, but that she had bought new carpet. The takeaway there is that some goals get accomplished, some don't, and you just push them forward into the next calendar year. We simply cannot discuss 2012 without me showing you a picture of my new grandbaby. I know. This is Fern. I had just given her an update on Maps 3. You can see that Fern is very excited. Fern is kind of a unique name. I find it interesting that my two granddaughters, Fern and Lily, are both named after plants. And ever the opportunist, I am claiming it makes me the greenest mayor in America. Again, welcome to the State of the City Address. Like in the past, I have worked on this speech off and on for a couple of months. But when I was going over it just in the last 48 hours, it seemed like I'd put a lot of numbers in there, as if you all are going to take notes and I'm going to come back and give you a test later. And I was trying to think to myself, why did I put so many numbers in there? But you have probably heard me refer to these times that we're going through so many times as this is the golden age. Or you've heard people talk about the renaissance that Oklahoma City is experiencing. And sometimes it seems like things are going so well that there's almost a need to validate it with metrics or outside sources. And so there are going to be quite a few numbers that are coming up in the next few minutes. But I hope one of your takeaways is this, that yes, things are good, things are happening for us, and so we should enjoy it, we should appreciate it, and we should learn from it, because we know it will not last forever. But we need to make a lot of things happen while we can. Let's begin by putting the city's timeline in perspective. 2013, that's 124 years since our great-grandparents drove a stake into the ground on this very spot and other spots nearby during the land run. It's been 103 years since Oklahoma City became the state capital. It's been 85 years since oil was discovered at Southeast 59th Street. It's been 71 years since Tinker Air Force Base began operations. 31 years since Penn Square Bank failed. 20 years since the passage of MAPS. 18 years since the bombing of our federal building. 12 years since the passage of MAPS for Kids. 8 years since the NBA arrived, and just over 3 years since the passage of MAPS 3. Time flies, doesn't it? Think about this. If you're 15 years old and you live in Oklahoma City, you probably think we've always had an NBA team. You probably think the ballpark has always been downtown. And you probably think the river has always had water. In the grand scheme of things, in the grand look at our city's timeline, these are relatively new events. But with each passing year, the generation that made that happen, and that's you, must realize all we're really doing is setting the stage for greater things to come. So when those 15-year-olds take over, and it's going to be sooner than we'd like to admit, They are in turn creating a city that we cannot even dream about today. It's a lot to ponder. Before we go any further, I want to thank a few people that are in the audience today. We have the best city council in America, and several members are here. As I call your name, if you would please stand, then we'll give a round of applause at the end. First of all, Gary Mars, representing Ward 1. Ed Shadid, Ward 2. Larry McAtee, Ward 3. Pete White, Ward 4. David Greenwell, Ward 5. Meg Salyer, representing Ward 6. Skip Kelly, Ward 7. And Pat Ryan, Ward 8. Please join me in thanking this group. They put in countless hours serving on boards and commissions, attending neighborhood meetings and city council meetings. There is no better city council anywhere. We also have a great city staff, and I wish I had time to name all of them individually, but if you work for the city of Oklahoma City, would you please stand so we can show our appreciation? City employees, please stand. Thank you very much. And ad-libbing just a bit, I know we have one former city employee today. Former Mayor Ron Norick is here. Ron, would you please stand so we can show our appreciation? Thank you for all you've done for us. As you know, this event is sponsored by the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber. They are charged with helping us to create jobs, helping us to improve the quality of life in Oklahoma City, and they do a masterful job. You saw Pete Delaney a few minutes ago. He is the current chair. Roy Williams is the president and CEO. I suspect that most of you in the audience today are members of the Chamber of Commerce, but I'd really like to see, if you're part of a business that's a member of the Chamber of Commerce, would you please stand so we can thank everyone that's supporting this wonderful organization. Yeah, it's a lot of people. We've have a great chamber, and we have since 1889, and it's still true today. If you see new faces in the audience, that's to be expected. According to the Census Bureau, our population growth is currently twice its traditional rate. Now, what that means is every month, over 2,000 new people are moving into the Oklahoma City metro. 2,000. The city's population is now 610,000 or so. The metro is at about 1.3 million. And you have seen signs of the city's growth at nearly every turn. Seemingly all of our energy companies are expanding their buildings and their campuses. We have thousands of new housing units and several new hotels, especially downtown, are under construction. In fact, in 1999, we had under 400 hotel rooms downtown. Now we have over 2,000. And there's another 600 either under construction or soon to be under construction. We are building new schools. We are building new modes of transportation. We are expanding our roads. We are welcoming in new retailers that did not consider us before. Our per capita income is going up, which should help us in a lot of the traditional areas where we have struggled, like health and education. But with all of that growth and all of that good news, there are growing problems. It feels to me like domestic violence is increasing. We know from the numbers that our homicide rate is going up. Difficult to tell always about the number of homeless in our city, and we appear to have the resources to address it, but it doesn't appear to be getting better. There's a lot of people in our community that are in some level of need. On Christmas Day, we served over 2,000 people at the Red Andrews Christmas dinner. So this early takeaway for you is so much has been accomplished, yet there is so much more for us to do. Let's talk about the economy. While many large cities are still struggling to match the productivity they might have reached 5 years ago, our economy is performing extremely well. In fact, I don't think there's another large metro economy in the country that's able to keep up with us. We currently have the lowest unemployment rate in the United States. And we had the lowest rate of unemployment last month, and the month before that, and the month before that, and the month before that. In fact, we've had the lowest unemployment rate 19 of the last 23 months. Give yourself another round of applause. Our employment growth rate is twice the national average. The leading sectors are energy, professional services, and retail trade. Each of those three sectors is growing at a better than 7% annual clip. Our growth in jobs is one of the largest in the country. We are set up to succeed in that area, but going forward, if we're going to continue this momentum on the job relocation front, it's going to be critical that we continue to look and prepare sites that are appropriate for businesses that are looking to relocate or expand into Oklahoma City. The city and the chamber are going to need to be actively involved in getting these sites ready so we can take advantage of all the opportunities that we're going to have. I mentioned a couple of minutes ago that our population was increasing at twice its traditional rate inside Oklahoma City's city limits. We're gaining about 1,000 new people every month. In the larger metro, double that, about 2,000 a month. Now think about that. 2,000 people a month moving into the metro area, yet our employment rate is going down. These people are obviously finding jobs when they get here. Another good indicator of a local economy can be measured by its local sales tax. That shows whether or not consumers have confidence in their own lives. It reflects if businesses are growing. Our sales tax numbers last year were in record territory, higher than they had ever been before. This year, we're up 9% over last year. Now, some of those new dollars are going to new retailers. In the past year, we've seen investments from retailers like Dave & Buster's, Anthropologie, Dick's Sporting Goods. All three are new to the market, and there's more of those new retailers coming to Oklahoma City in 2013. Now, the national media is certainly recognizing what's going on in Oklahoma City. Let me take a couple of months to kind of collect some of this information and express it to you of what happened in 2012 as far as outside validation. Back in January, a management consulting firm concluded that companies could save 20 to 25% if they headquartered in a place like Oklahoma City. They placed us number 2 on their list of emerging mid-sized cities. Also in January, Forbes magazine looked at which cities had the best potential for real estate appreciation. They examined the entire country and placed us in their top 10. Then we heard from a national company called Career Bliss. They surveyed 43,000 citizens across the United States and asked them, are you happy with your job? We ranked number 3 in the entire country for happiest city to work. Every year, Fortune magazine runs a poll determining the best places to work. 3 of our corporate headquarters made the list: American Fidelity Assurance, Chesapeake, and Devon. In fact, they not only made the list of the top 100, all 3 of them were listed in the top 50. In Washington, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics did the math to determine how many cities had already successfully bounced back from the recession. And as of February of last year, only 13 cities in the country had reached those pre-recessionary levels. We were one of them, as you might have guessed. The Bureau also looked at which cities were building their manufacturing base. We are. We've jumped 5% year to year, ranked in the top 10 in manufacturing jobs. In March came word from a publication called Business Journal. They're trying to determine which of the cities in the country are growing in the world of arts and entertainment. We're in their top 10%. In fact, they said we have 8,000 people employed in the areas of arts and entertainment. And this is proof, once again, that our commitment to arts in this community is paying large dividends in our efforts to create economic development. Also in March, an employment services firm named Manpower surveyed 18,000 employers from across the country, and they came up their list for best cities for jobs. We ranked 4th. In April, the national polling firm Gallup released its job creation numbers. The number 1 city nationally on their list for job creation was us, Oklahoma City. In fact, it wasn't even close. Also in April, KPMG, the big accounting and auditing firm, created an index to locate the least costly city to do business. They looked at 13 mid-sized cities around the country. They named us number 1. On April 30th, Garner Economics issued a report. It examined every metro economy of over 1 million people and looked at earnings growth. We were number 1. We beat out New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and every other big city out there. Number 1 in earnings growth. In May, Forbes magazine published a couple of important lists. 1, best city for jobs overall, and 2, best cities for recent college graduates to find a job. They placed us in the top 10 on both lists. In June, there was an article published in CNN Money magazine. Over 6,000 small businesses surveyed. The number 1 most business-friendly city in the United States is Oklahoma City. They cited 2 important factors: our low cost of living and the large number of young college graduates that are choosing to live here. You know, one of our goals in the city is to attract and keep our young people. And in July, there's a website that I hadn't heard of, but maybe you have. It's called moving.com. And they ranked its best cities for millennials. We rank 6th in the entire country, which is not too bad. They cite our low employment rate, our cost of living, and our nightlife. I know. It makes me want to stay up past 10 o'clock and see what's going on out there. Here's a list you may not have heard of. In August, we learned that Scientist magazine ranked the best places to work in academia. The Oklahoma Medical Research Foundation and the University of Oklahoma Health Science Center both placed among the top 25 in the country. Now, maybe you wondered to yourself, where is the best place on earth for oil and gas investment? The answer, according to the Global Petroleum Survey conducted by the Fraser Institute, Oklahoma City. Best place on earth. I like that. Our city is also becoming more educated. New Geography magazine measured the increases in the number of college graduates in cities across the country. We were in the top 20, and interestingly, we're 4 points ahead of the national average for college graduates. In August, Business Journal magazine issued its index for economic strength. They touted our low unemployment, our high private sector job growth. Oklahoma City, number 1 in August. Strongest economy in the country. And by the way, we stayed number 1 in their poll in September and October and November. We're still waiting for the December numbers to come in. The U.S. Census Bureau has its eye on us too. They follow the growth in household income. As a state, Oklahoma finished number 1 in the country. Our median household income grew over 12%. We were 2 percentage points higher than any other state in the country. A couple of other notes. In October, ESPN ranked the top franchise in professional sports. They included all the baseball teams, all the football teams, all the basketball teams, all the hockey teams, 122 major league sports teams in all. They looked at performance on the field, but they also looked at fan appreciation, the team's commitment to the community, and also the quality of the ownership group. The number 1 franchise in all of professional sports is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah. The Green Bay Packers finished 2nd. One final list. It's the current standings in the Western Conference. How about that? It's a good list to be on the top 2. I mentioned earlier that our revenue at City Hall comes largely from sales tax. The next obvious question you might have is, well, what do you spend it on? Well, it's a pretty easy answer for us. 2/3 of our general fund revenue is spent on public safety. The largest amount goes to police. The second largest amount goes to the fire department. Now, over the year, we have invested in a lot of firefighting equipment, and it is starting to pay off. There's an organization that judges a fire department's ability to put out fires in rural parts of the city. The last time we went through this testing procedure was 20 years ago. Since then, we've invested in heavy water tanks, we've improved our communications, And we've also improved on the way we coordinate with the other fire departments in the municipal areas. The results of the testing procedure a few months ago showed dramatic improvement in our ability to put out fires in the rural areas. What that means to you is that it should be lowering insurance rates for those who choose to live in the rural parts of the city. One other note from the fire department, we have begun construction on a new fire station in far southwest Oklahoma City, and that should help the response times out there as well. As for police, you are well aware of our commitment to fight crime. We have a policy of no tolerance for crime. But in 2012, our homicide rate went up sharply where it had been the past 2 years. That said, nowhere near where we were back in the late 1970s when it was at an all-time high. In 1979, we had a homicide rate of 25 per 100,000 citizens. This year, we were closer to 16, so it's a 35% betterment in the homicide rate from 1979. But simply put, regardless of the numbers, your citizens have to feel safe in their own neighborhoods. You also know of our commitment to combat gang violence. It is a priority of ours. And to that end, we have been active in 3 distinct areas. Number 1, predictive analytics to help us understand where crime is going to occur. Number 2, community engagement, which asks people inside the community to help us identify criminal activity before it escalates out of control. And number 3, youth intervention, which can take on a lot of different forms. For instance, you may not be aware of a program our police department has been working on the past few years. It has to do with truancy in our schools. In 2010, the City Council and I passed an ordinance that tightened up our efforts to keep kids in school, and at the same time, we entered into an agreement with the school systems that empowered everyone involved in this effort. So you may ask, how can you afford to allocate police officers to truancy when you have so many other important things going on? Well, I think the answer is this. Quite simply, if we allow a kid to drop out of school, there's a high likelihood he's going to be interacting with our police department 6 months from now. There's no question that a kid enrolled in school is much more likely to stay out of trouble than a kid that drops out of school. We've now been doing this long enough to report some results. Since 2009, we've had a total of 15,601 students that have been contacted by our police as a result of our truancy efforts. And in Oklahoma City Public Schools, we have an overall reduction in truancy of 45%. And it is not just our teenagers that we need to keep in school. There is new information regarding how important it is to get and keep our younger children in the classroom. One of our districts performed a study looking solely at how school attendance reflected scores in reading and math, and the results were amazingly consistent. At every grade level, there's a direct connection between attendance and classroom achievement. We need a longer school day, we need a longer school year, and we need to keep our kids in the classroom. As you know, the city has been very involved with the capital needs of our schools. As we wind down the Maps for Kids program, let me report on the current status. You will remember Maps for Kids is our decade-long effort to rebuild our inner city school district and at the same time provide capital funding for the suburban districts. $700 million of your tax dollars have been involved in this. It has affected over 100 schools throughout the region. And in our inner city district, we have 40 school projects that have been completed entirely. We have another 25 schools that are under construction today, and 9 of those 25 are very near completion. So 2013 is going to be a very big year for Maps for Kids. At the end of this year, there's going to be fundamentally just 2 projects left. The downtown grade school, construction should begin this spring. We expect students to be in this building in the fall of 2014. And then we'll start working on the administration building, which is the final project in Maps for Kids. And we're in the process right now of helping the district determine the best site. This has also been an important year for our Teach for America effort. We currently have 130 teachers in this program. Now, these teachers are young people, young men and women who have come from across the country to our community to help our kids. And the funding has come from a lot of different sources, but much of it has come from the private sector. And I want to take this opportunity to thank each of you that has been a part of this funding effort, because we all need to do everything we can to make sure that we educate our young people. Make no mistake about it, we're 12 years beyond that Maps for Kid vote. The education taking place in our classrooms is significantly better today than it used to be. And this community's commitment to education is going to be paying dividends for many, many years to come. The community is also committed to the arts. Both the Arts Festival and opening night were big success stories this year downtown. We should also note that the Allied Arts Campaign raised a record total, $3.25 million raised, and that goes to our local artists to help operate their programs, and also not only to entertain, but also to educate our young people about the arts. How about a round of applause for our commitment to the arts, because it is very impressive and very important to get where we want to be. Lots going on at the zoo, as always. This past year, we have several new additions. We have a new baby giraffe. This is Sergeant Pepper. And we have some new Red River piglets. Those guys crack me up. We have a new red panda cub named KD. And we have new pet vipers, which just goes to show you, you cannot have enough poisonous snakes in your community. Now, I understand these are an endangered species. We're glad they're here, but I don't want to get too close to that one. We also have adopted a new baby chimpanzee. This chimpanzee was in the zoo in Tampa, Florida, but it needed surrogate parents, and so we brought him in here, and look, he's making himself right at home. Looks like he's fitting right in. In addition, 2013 is going to be another big year for the zoo. We'll be opening Stingray Bay. The stingrays are coming to Oklahoma City this year. Well, as you may know, there's a lot of national polls that ask voters if the country is headed in the right direction or the wrong direction. Last month, in several nationwide surveys, only 40% of Americans said that the United States was headed in the right direction. 40%. Each year, we hire a national polling firm to ask our citizens how we're doing. Is the city of Oklahoma City headed in the right direction? The numbers were very encouraging. 82% say we're headed in the right direction. And you can feel it. Obviously, not everyone is thriving in our community. And even though our employment rate is extremely low at 4%, if you're one of the 4%, things could be better for you. But while we work on our problems through our businesses and our city and county programs, through our churches and other charities, we have not stopped investing in ourselves, and we have not stopped planning for future generations. We're building parks, we're building bike trails, we're building a new streetcar system, we're building hundreds of miles of new sidewalks. We have simply raised the standards of what's acceptable in the city of Oklahoma City. And others are taking note. In this past year, we've had, I bet about 20 cities come into Oklahoma City for either official or unofficial visits. Some of them are in town today. Guys from Midland, Texas, raise your hand back here. Midland, Texas has an entire table at the back of the room. Let's show our appreciation for them coming to see us. Their economy is doing about as well as ours. It's an amazing city. Thank you guys for coming. And also, I know we have a group from Lafayette, Louisiana over here. Would you guys raise your hand? Let's show our appreciation to our visitors from out of town. On the health front, you may remember a year ago, we reached our milestone when our obesity awareness campaign, known as This City is Going on a Diet, reached its goal of 1 million pounds lost. In the end, over 47,000 of us were involved in the process. That's over 20 pounds apiece for 47,000 people. Now, we have dozens of other cities that are trying to duplicate our efforts. The list of cities keeps growing. Smaller communities in Michigan and Washington have modeled programs after ours. And amongst bigger cities, the city of Dallas, Houston, and Fort Worth are all talking to our website people about doing something about their own obesity efforts. And it's not just cities, we're also working with the entire state of North Carolina in helping them develop an obesity campaign. We're also seeing the results of our campaign on fitness starting to show up in health rankings. For instance, Men's Fitness magazine, which annually produces a ranking of what they term the fattest cities in America, issued their list again. But this year was different. It was the very first time we weren't on it. And believe it or not, they also put out a list of the healthiest cities in America, and we were on it. We were number 23 on Men's Fitness list of the healthiest cities in the country. We got a long way to go, but we're heading in the right direction. As a whole, the state of Oklahoma has fared poorly in health for several years. In fact, since the 1990s, it's been getting generally worse and worse. 3 reasons usually acknowledged. We have higher than average rates in poverty, in obesity, and our smoking rate is higher than the national average. But this year, the national health statistics came out, and remember, 3 years ago, we were 49th in the country. This year, we're 43rd. You know, again, a great sign, not where we want to be, but we're heading in the right direction. And while we're doing a better job of taking care of ourselves, we're also doing a better job of taking care of our animals. The number of adoptions from our animal shelter totaled 7,182 this year. That's about 20 adoptions per day. Imagine the positive impact that that is having on our quality of life. And one other number I want to pass along comes from our Public Works Department. In 2012, they repaired 81,000 potholes. Can you imagine? That is over 200 per day. We have listened. You like smooth streets. And in air travel, while the numbers may not be as big, the economic development it creates certainly is. At the airport, we have increased our number of direct flights to 2 more cities this year, and overall, air travel at the airport is up 4%. All right, let's go to MAPS 3. Let me give you an update. As you know, we have 7 citizen-led committees that are tasked with providing direction on the projects. They make recommendations to the MAPS 3 Citizen Advisory Board, and then that group makes recommendations that go to the City Council. As you know, with the MAPS model, we pay for these projects after we've collected the money, so there's no debt. And so it takes a while for that penny to be collected and accumulated and then spent. It should be a very interesting process over the next 10 years. But here's a status report on the projects. Starting with the Senior Health and Wellness Centers, expect 4 of these facilities to be built. We currently have a request for proposals on the street. Multiple groups have indicated to us they intend to respond. It's possible we could be in the design stage here by the end of the year in our first center. The Jogging and Biking Trail Committee is acquiring land for the river trail that's going to connect the Oklahoma River with the trail at Lake Overholser. That design is nearing completion. Construction should begin here in 2013. The sidewalks that come with MAPS 3 are going to be built in 2 phases. The subcommittee has now completed its work on developing the master plan. The design for the first half of the sidewalks is underway. Overall, hundreds of miles of sidewalks are coming to Oklahoma City. Some of it is from MAPS 3, some of it is from Project 180, a lot of it is from the bond issue that was passed in 2007. The Convention Center is the biggest project. The site has been selected. We are in negotiations to buy the property. And we're also having a strong coordinated effort between the people that are working on the Convention Center and those that are also working on the park and the boulevard and the streetcar. The streetcar subcommittee has been very busy. The Santa Fe station has been selected as the site of the multimodal hub. The purchase of that property is underway. Engineers are analyzing the proposed route and looking at the best use of the money available. Now, the subcommittee working on the downtown park is also making good progress. We've held 2 public meetings. The 3rd public meeting is tonight, and these are some of the pictures that will be distributed to the people that show up tonight. The Phase 1 improvements will soon be in design. Beautiful. Be nice to see this park opening in the next few years just south of here. On the river, construction has begun on the lighting aspects. We'll have the only lighted rowing course in the world. The lights have been erected. The whitewater facility and the windscreen are currently in the design phase. And finally, at the fairgrounds, we're building a huge expo center, $60 million largely spent on the expo center. That's also in the process of selecting the architect, and that design will be coming forth very, very soon. Also in the last year, Project 180 moved forward. Here's some numbers. Nearly 4 miles of downtown streets have now been completely redesigned and completed. We built 13 new intersections, all new traffic signals and crosswalks. Also, as a part of Project 180, we have planted 863 trees downtown. And there's a lot of new lights associated with Project 180. There's 357 lights that are coming to help pedestrians maneuver through the city. And then there's 175 new lights that have been installed for vehicles. More to come. Project 180 is not done. We're going to be working on Park Avenue and Kerr Avenue and E.K. Gaylord and some other streets. Improvements at the Chesapeake Energy Arena are now finished. Coupled with the practice arena that was built for the Thunder, this fundamentally completes the 2008 Big League City initiative that was so instrumental in us getting the permanent NBA team. We also finished the Oklahoma City Skydance Bridge. It's been honored nationally. An organization called Americans for the Arts named it one of the top 50 public arts projects. While I'm up here, how about a round of applause for the totality of what the Devon Tower has meant for the city? If you're like me, it still takes your breath away. Every time you look at it and you notice how it's impacted the skyline and also done so much to consolidate that workforce and to continue to build on the quality of life that has created for us. You know, it's going to be hard for 2013 to match 2012, but I have a feeling you all are not going to let me down. Thank you so much for what you're doing in the city. You are making this a great place to live and to work. Mom, your new carpet looks great. I'm so inspired by that. Thank you, Godspeed, and God bless you all.
Mayor, thank you for those great remarks. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for being such an effective representative of this great city around the country. We really appreciate our partnership together. I want to thank again the #1 sports franchise in the United States, the Oklahoma City Thunder, for their sponsorship. Have a great day in our great city. We are adjourned.